Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name's Dave, and this is episode 791A, and today's date is October 14th, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Economy is Falling Apart, and the U.S. Government Central Banker Cover-Up. It's not working. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we're going to head out to Europe, and Europe right now is doing absolutely awful. The Eurozone industrial production is down by negative 0.5%, and they're realizing that there is no improvement in Europe. Yes, they're flashing around that the unemployment has stayed steady, nothing is going on there, but you have to remember they're using the same manipulated numbers that the US uses. And when we look at the United States, we see things are starting to come out in the open, and everything that we've been talking about is actually coming true. And what we are seeing right now is a complete separation of what the government is telling us, which is their manipulated statistical numbers like GDP, inflation, and everything else, compared to reality, which we're dealing in right now. And we talk about how students cannot find jobs when they graduate college. And of course, people wrote in, it's hard to believe, like, what do you mean they can't find jobs? It makes no sense. They go to college, they should be able to find a job. But what's happening is people are going to college and they're going to get their BA or the BS, and basically there's really no skills behind it. I mean, unless you're becoming a lawyer, a doctor, an accountant, and an engineer or something like that. But if you're just going to college with a general major, it's very difficult to get a job right now. Yes, you end up, if you need to take out student loans, with a lot of debt, but the jobs are not waiting for you. And now it's hitting home. We're starting to hear from the corporate media that yes, this is true. Right now, there are 6.4 million more students who have bachelor degrees who cannot find jobs. There are more students graduating right now than there are jobs for these students. Now, we've talked about this quite a bit. This is coming out of the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the National Center for Education Statistics. Now, we've been discussing this for quite a while. We knew that all of this that we've been seeing, where the government is telling everyone to go back to school, take out debt, get an education, you'll get a job. We knew this wasn't true. All they wanted was the debt bubble to inflate. And we realize from everything else that we've been looking at that these students who graduated, and I know many of them, they cannot find the job in their majors. And they have student debt. They're living with their parents. Some of them can't even find part-time work right now because they're afraid they're going to leave as soon as a full-time job opens up, so they won't give them part-time work. And this is why the government came out with that loan modification based on your income. And now we're getting hard evidence that, yes, this was all true. And the number is growing because people don't know what to do. And they think in their minds, if I go back to school, I'll be able to get a job. And it's not working out. All they're ending up with is debt. We see retail earnings, retail sales. It's pretty much falling apart. Walmart came in. They slashed their earning guidance. We see retail sales have completely imploded. Retail sales disappointed even more than in October of 2014, when 27 out of 27 economists thought the control group would be positive. It came in at negative 0.1%. Retail sales, excluding autos, dropped by 0.3% in September. The second drop in a row, the biggest drop since January. This is the 7th month in a row that it missed. Year-over-year data shows sustained stagnant growth in retail sales, and this is normally historically aligned with a recessionary environment. So let's break it down. They're telling us that everything is fine. People are going to go out there and spend their money because everyone has a job, except, the millions and millions of people they're not counting. Electronic and appliance stores down negative 0.2%. Housing supposed to be improving. Everything's supposed to be getting better. Well, guess what? Building materials and supplies down negative 0.3%. Food and beverage down negative 0.3%. Gasoline stations negative 3.2%. General merchandise stores negative 0.1%. Miscellaneous store retailers negative 1.3%. Online sales, well, that explains it. Everyone now is shopping online instead of the brick and mortar shops. Well, not true, because online sales negative 0.2%. It is not happening. So far, the back-to-school sales declined. Sales in September declined. October declining. This is what we're seeing right now. And we're going into a holiday season, everybody. This is an indicator that it's not going well. And you have to remember, all these people that have been laid off, they're not going out and spending their money. They're too worried right now. Where am I going to get a job? So they're hoarding right now. Those people who have part-time jobs, they're hoarding their money right now. They can't go out and just spend. And thank God the gas prices are lower, because it makes it a little bit easier for people not to go spend in retail, but they have the ability to drive places and have a little bit more fuel in their car. And I believe that this was part of their agenda, because they knew if they kept the prices up around $3.50, $4 a gallon, businesses would collapse at this point. People, it would be a complete disaster. And this was part of their agenda to bring this down. They really thought in the beginning that they were going to go out and spend this money, but now basically what they're doing is just trying to keep the system alive. Of course, the other agenda is putting a lot of pressure on Russia and the other BRIC nations that deal with oil, and we see a lot of them are hurting. But guess what? This system is not going to make it. We see the business sales. They tumbled 0.6% month on month. This is the biggest drop since January. No inventory liquidation has started yet, and this has driven the inventory to sales ratio up 1.37 times. The last 2 times the ratio was at this level, guess what? The U.S. was in a recession. So we are really not in a recession right now. We're actually in a depression. And when the market gives the signal that we are in a depression, a lot of people are going to be shocked. Because we've been looking at this for quite a while. We've been watching the trend. We've been preparing for what is coming. And we're starting to see things accelerate. Now remember, I talked about mortgages. I talked about housing. We're coming out of the hot season, the summer season, where people usually purchase homes. And back in September, we saw mortgage applications surge. Now, of course, they came out and they told us, well, the banking regulations for mortgages, they revamped them, making it easier for people to get mortgages, and this is why we saw a surge in mortgages. Well, that wasn't true whatsoever. The reason why we saw a surge was because the Fed was out there saying they were going to raise interest rates, and everyone was trying to lock in before the interest rate went up, and that's why we saw a surge of 25%. Well, here we are, after the Fed lied to everyone, and they didn't go ahead and raise the interest rates because they can't. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the mortgage applications plunged by 27%. The drop was the steepest percentage drop since the week of January 2009, when that dropped 38.8%, and that was the Great Recession. 11% away from that drop. So people realized, okay, forget it. They're not really raising the interest rates. There's no reason to lock into anything. And most of the people right now, and I'm sure a lot of that was completely just out of fear, and they just completely dropped it. And we're seeing right now that as we move into this winter, what's going to happen is the housing market is going to fall apart. Now, the corporate media is out there, and they're spinning it the opposite way. They're saying the reason why we had the plunge was because of the new mortgage regulations. It's making it much more difficult for the banks. They have to adjust, and this is why we're seeing the plunge. It's funny, when the mortgage applications surged, they said because it was the better mortgage regulations, and all they're doing is spinning the same news all different ways to fit their story. So the real reason is because people got scared. They thought the rates were going to go up. They didn't. And now we see the real effect. And next month it will get worse, and it will get worse after that. We're seeing houses on the market much, much longer. They can't move them. Yes, in certain areas, we're still seeing positive growth. We saw this back in 2007 going to 2008. It doesn't hit everywhere all at the same time. I told the story many times. I lived in New York. My sister-in-law lived in Florida. I was selling my house in 2007 going into 2008. Everything dried up in New York. Called my sister-in-law in Florida. Yeah, everything's fine. Oh my God, we have so much business down here. Prices keep going up. It's incredible. 6 to 8 months later, boom, screeching halt, dead in the water. And guess what? We're starting to see this all over the place. Now we know that retail sales are contracting, stores are closing, factories aren't producing, and we're seeing the Baltic Dry Index fall. It's down now another 17 to 787. Last year at this time, we were closing in on 1,600. And this is the raw material that factories use to produce the goods. Well, guess what? Nobody wants the goods anymore because we can't afford it. It is so bad right now that Illinois will not be able to make their pension payments. Pension payments are set to be delayed. Comptroller Leslie Geisler Munger said her office will postpone a $560 million retirement fund payment next month and may make the December contribution late. For all intents and purposes, she said, we're out of money. We got nothing left. We can't make any of these payments. And this is what we're seeing all over the country. I mean, Puerto Rico right now, they're going to be defaulting. They can't make their payments on their debt. And we're starting to see this in many different cities. The economy is not in a recovery. You don't see this in a true recovery. You don't see everything contracting in a true recovery. You don't see retail sales during the holiday season going towards Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. You don't see retail contract at this point. You see factories producing. You see people purchasing. You don't see thousands upon thousands of people being laid off. This is not what a recovery is. This is what a depression is. This is what a collapse is. And it's moving closer and closer to that point where everyone is going to realize that, yeah, we're in a collapse. We're nowhere near anywhere towards a recovery whatsoever. Now in Brazil, we see their retail sales, they're just falling apart. Unemployment is extremely high, and the coup to remove Dilma Rousseff is in full force right now. They want her out because they realize the United States can get rid of her. This is their way into the BRICS system to destroy the BRICS system. And this is what they're trying to push right now. Now, we understand, because we've been watching this, we've been watching everything that's been going on, looking at the market indicators, looking at the real information, looking at things with our own two eyes, feeling it, we all need to make sure that we're prepared for what is coming. And that means food, do not stop. That means medical supplies. That means having cash on hand, having gold and silver. And people say, why do I need cash? Because remember, people are not going to understand what gold and silver are right in the beginning. They're going to look at it and they're going to say, I don't know how to trade with you. Cash, I still understand. That's why you need to still keep cash around. You need a weapon to protect your family. And if you're just starting out, you can go right to lifereliance.com. They have water filtration systems, bug out bags, seeds, food already pre-made, ready to go. And you can go right to lifereliance.com, and it's really easy to do. And you can still go, if you've been doing this, which I have, you can still go to Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's, get the canned foods, rice, anything that will fill your pantry that's dry, that will last for a long time. Make sure you get toiletries, because these are the things that are going to be hard to get, because everyone's going to be making a run to the supermarket, to Costco, to get as much as they possibly can. I mean, look what happened in Cyprus. Look what happened in Greece. Look at Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela. This is going to be a worldwide crisis. And people who are not ready to go here, it's going to be a problem for them. And a lot of these people are not going to be able to know how to handle any of this. And this is why I've been saying everyone needs to be prepared. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.